about Salomé, which has nearly over 100 works dealing with John the Baptist and this powerful, strong Salomé projected in these images. And then you also have the woman of the apocalypse, which has John the evangelical and the great whore and the way that you represent her, and all these representations and manifestations of women. Great parallel here between the two series, between the apocalypse and between this Dance of Salomé series.
The work in both the Apocalypse and Salomé series reveal many aspects and characteristics are intricately related. In the fantastic visions, St. John admonishes Jezebel and her immoral ways, and then proceeds to describe dual femininity, symbolized on one hand by the Heavenly Mother as the immaculate woman represented by the shining sun, and on the other hand the earthly woman represented by the moon, which is under the domination and eclipsed by the sun. The heavenly woman flees from the seven-headed menacing red dragon and escapes him, and she's received by the mountains of God, whereas the earthly woman sits on a seven-headed scarlet beast, and she's clothed in purple and scarlet, filled with gold and precious stones, and she holds in her hand a cup full of abomination, of her immoral behavior. She's the great harlot, representing, of course, Babylon the Great, as the great whore who copulates with men and kings, is later destroyed by some kind of divine warrior. In the story of Salomé, and particularly in Oscar Wilde's Salomé, John the Baptist speaks almost with the same tone in admonishing and attacking Herodias, wife of King Herod and mother of Salomé. She is described as a wicked woman who desires and lusts for sex, and having made love to young men and committed incest by marrying the brother of her husband, and so on. In this case, the great whore. And so is her daughter, Princess Salomé, whom John addresses as the daughter of adultery. When Salomé appears early in the play, she descends from the white, great, beautiful moon. She is flying in the sky. She's wearing a veil, which ironically is a symbol of virginity. But once on earth, she takes the whore side of femininity and goes after John, who rejects her and her advances. Then later, during the great banquet celebrating the birthday of the king, she accepts to dance, and she brings the 7 veils. The magic number 7 appears a lot in the Revelation, and here we have the 7 veils, which really has a form of striptease, in which she takes off one veil at a time as she dances until she is completely naked before the multitude of men, the king and everybody, all these officers watching her dance in the play. Salomé, in Oscar Wilde, was fully aware of all this as he makes interchanges of names between the two Johns, between the heroines, and between the great harlot and Herodias, since both women express sexual desires and lust. In so many coincidences, descriptions, tones, symbols, and metaphors, we find a lot of similarities between the two. La Danse de Salomé reflects the depiction of Salomé in the way she moves and dances in almost every single scene of every painting and drawing. We have a series of paintings comprising over 50, 60 or more. They're done in oils, gouache, watercolors, acrylic. And then you have about the same number, 50, 60 or more, of ink and gouache drawings. In working on these two series, Apocalypse and Salomé, this was done around 84 and then 87. Salomé actually was a redone, the early Salomé that I'd done around 69, 71. Most of the work were destroyed when my studio was seized in New York. In 80 I did a few, but then later, immediately after the biblical apocalypse, we have also the apocalypse of my painting, which is the apocalyptic work. And they were done the same concept, putting many canvases in my studio and working almost simultaneously on the various work. In working on the two series, the Apocalypse and Salomé, a whole world of ideas seemed to open up a wide horizon of endless interchangeable images that seem to float, move, expand, and then explode. They exploded on canvases, on paper, with a variety of forms and shapes, in a continuous rhythm, running from one word to another, especially when we're talking about the dance. It's a continuous, it's almost musical in the rhythm and the way it's done, and it has a lot of intensity as well in terms of color, in terms of composition, in the way, in the physical presence. Some of them are very large, and you sense this physicality, this confrontation, this in front of you, and in each series you have over 100 works, in which one scene occupied by certain figures is juxtaposed to another scene with different figures. So together they form a chain that links the work together, and then draw the viewer, sucks him in, it draws toward the inner universe of the imagery.